What do we know about the truth, the not truth inside this dossier?
Well, we don't know much about whether these allegations are true or not. In fact, that's a big part of these several investigations going on, both on Capitol Hill and also in the Justice Department with Bob Mueller and his special counsel investigation. And so that is, I think, an open question, whether some of the allegations in the dossier, a lot of the allegations, however, in the dossier sound like, and it sounds like the Clinton campaign believed that they were essentially trumped up, if you pardon the phrase, trumped up charges against Donald Trump by the Russians.
Potentially even made up, is what I've read.
Exactly, and that enough that they thought, the Clinton campaign thought, this was not something they wanted to use. It didn't prevent this dossier from getting out to several media outlets who sat on it for several months, didn't do anything with it. This dossier was out there, the salacious stuff mixed with stuff that I think is an open question about the veracity of it.
So what was the turn point? There's always that tipping point, that turn point where you go from, well, I'm not really going to show it with anybody in the campaign. I might show it to some people in the media, and then suddenly it's on fire.
Well, BuzzFeed released the dossier after the election. This was the decision, an editorial decision that publication made, that this was out there floating around, and so here's what was being floated around. I think different news organizations can make different judgments about whether that was a good call, but once it was out there, it was out there. But the bigger question to me in this, when you go back to the payment, in this Washington Post story, which revealed that Mark Elias was the one who was paying for this, was why did the Democrats lie about this? And they lied pretty boldly and baldly about it for several months until it was revealed actually they did pay Fusion GPS for this dossier.
So when you say lie, the lie that people are focused on right now is not whether or not they paid Fusion GPS, but what they told congressional investigators about what was going on. Because if you lie to Congress, that's not just offensive, it's a crime.
Absolutely. And I will say this, this is the kind of thing that you don't let principals know about for plausible deniability purposes. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if John Podesta, for instance, made this up. Or rather lied to Congress about this. I will say the timeline is also a little murky with Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Remember, it was in the summer, the end of July, I believe, that Debbie Wasserman Schultz was officially moved out of her role in the DNC. So we don't know exactly what they knew. And whether or not it was something that was kept from them so that they would have that plausible deniability. But yes, I agree that is a question that deserves more transparency if they were lying about this to congressional investigators.
This from the president on social media today. He says, and this was a tweet that he put out, it is now commonly agreed after many months of costly looking that there was no collusion between Russia and Trump, was collusion with HC. We assume that's Hillary Clinton. Mark?
Yeah, I think that's a right assumption, but I don't think that this is actually over, or the fact that the Democrats paid for this dossier means that that proves that there's no Russian collusion, that there's no connection between those two. Because again, there are some questions that apparently the FBI was interested in after reading through this dossier and through Christopher Steele's research. It's hard to know sitting here without sort of the full information that the government may know about what details in that dossier are true and what are these bogus things that are trumped up by the Russians. I think a very important thing, Harris, to remember here is through all of these stories, whether it is what Donald Trump Jr. was doing, meeting with some Russian folks in Trump Tower, or what the Clinton campaign was paying for, is that the Russians seem to have a very deep interest in interfering in the 2016 election in any way possible, and that's something that certainly deserves more
That's an umbrella issue, as
Absolutely.
you say. We'll look no farther than the former defense secretary under Barack Obama about whether or not you need to open an investigation into the dossier situation and who paid for it, what Hillary Clinton knew, what the DNC knew, and when, than Leon Panetta. That is a very strong statement that we're learning about today. Mike Warren, senior writer with the Weekly Standard, thank you for being here on this Friday.
Welcome back to this special edition of Hannity. More more bad news for Hillary Clinton this week involving another one of her scandals. The chairman of the House Judiciary and Oversight Committees have announced that they're opening a new probe into how the FBI and DOJ handled the investigation into Clinton's private server. Also this week, Judicial Watch announced that last year, the FBI recovered 72,000 pages of Clinton email records, 40,000 of which the State Department still has to process. Joining us now is the president of Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton, and from the American Center for Law and Justice, Jordan Sekulow. All right, Tom, let me ask you, what is the latest in terms of the information that you've gotten from your subpoenas?
Well, these are Freedom of Information Act requests. We've been asking for these emails for years, and they've been stonewalling the release of the information even under this new administration. The deep state's running things at the State Department, Justice Department on these Clinton emails. And as you highlighted, there are 72,000 pages of Clinton emails the FBI went and found. And these are the emails Hillary Clinton tried to delete that the FBI found or recovered. And they've only released a few of them. And at the rate they're releasing them to us now, we won't get all of them until 2020. And on top of that, there are 2,800 pages of records or documents over on Anthony Weiner's laptop that Yuma Abedin had that were also government records that are also from the Clinton email server. We don't know what's in them. Is it classified information? Is it Russia information? What was being deleted by Hillary Clinton is the big mystery.
Well, you know, my take, if we've got 72,000 emails and the State Department that was asked for them by, at the time of Benghazi, how many years ago was that, in 2012, and it's taken them this long, I have an idea. Let's defund Mueller and his special counsel and use that money to get people to start releasing those State Department emails. And you know, Jordan, what say you about this?
Well, I think that I am encouraged that Congress is now looking at this, Judge, put with a new lens in a couple different ways. One, when it comes to the new investigations under how the FBI handled this whole really investigation, they never wanted to call it that, matter, I guess, into Hillary Clinton, why they were so public and kept telling Congress and giving them updates about Hillary Clinton, and then made the ultimate call not to prosecute instead of deferring to the Department of Justice, the normal course of action. And then also, you know, Trey Gowdy, who chairs Oversight Committee, wants to bring Jim Comey back to testify under oath. That's important. But second, and I think this ties to a FOIA that we're working on right now at ACLJ, is that the FBI, we now know, was part of, had inked a deal, it appears, with Christopher Steele to continue the opposition research that Hillary Clinton's campaign was paying for through Fusion GPS. We want to know how far along the FBI went. So we've filed with the FOIA with the FBI to get that information, Judge, because that is absurd. As you had said earlier in the broadcast, it taints everything if the starting point for the unmasking, if the starting point for the special counsel, if the starting point for all of this Trump-Russia info is really a Hillary Clinton-Russian scandal.
Well, clearly. I mean, you know, people have used this term all week, for the last few days. The whole thing is turned on its head. But, Tom, $50,000, I believe, has gone from the FBI to Christopher Steele. How do they justify that? And is that the correct amount?
Oh, we don't know. And we've asked for the documents, too. In fact, we're already in federal court on it. And the Justice Department FBI have told us they can't confirm or deny whether any documents exist about the dossier or payments related to it. So this is where we stand. Everyone's just talking about the FBI's relationship with Christopher Steele, but the FBI doesn't want to say anything about it. And now they're going to turn over some documents to Congress. We wonder if they're going to update the court as to whether they still believe they can credibly say they can't confirm or deny whether documents exist. But lack of transparency is convenient. It's helping Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and hurting President Trump.
Well, clearly. And isn't it...
It's also hurting the credibility of law enforcement. You know, Judge, I mean, that is ultimately what is so damaging here is that people's faith in our top law enforcement agencies, like the FBI, it's totally undercut when they behave this way.
Well, clearly, as between Comey and Mueller, they have done more to destroy the country's confidence in the FBI. As someone who worked in law enforcement for over 3 decades, what they have done is stunning. If this Trump dossier is the basis of FISA warrants and the unmasking of Americans and was used knowingly, funded by the Clinton campaign, and Jim Comey is the guy who goes out when it's not his job, Tom, and makes a decision that he's going to exonerate Hillary, I mean, then the whole criminal justice system falls on its head.
You know, the Clinton campaign and the DNC have their problems with the dossier, but to the extent the FBI and Justice Department used this dossier as a pretext to spy on President Trump's team or President Trump himself, this is much more significant government scandal in terms of the Obama administration, the Justice Department, and the FBI than, frankly, anything Hillary Clinton did.
Well, clearly. And Jordan, final question. I mean, what can we look forward to in the next few weeks?
I think that confidential informant is going to change everything. I think it's why you're going to start seeing both sides try to speed up their activity because you've got people on the run right now, so to speak, in Washington, D.C., and now they know a confidential informant is going to be able to provide information on the influence Russians were trying to assert on the Clintons, both Hillary and Bill Clinton, specific to uranium deals in the United States that were ultimately approved by President Obama.
Very sad. All right, Tom Fitton, Jordan Sekelo, thanks so much for being with us.
You're welcome.